Hello dear students, this is Natalia. Welcome to session 6 of mobile application testing. Can you hear me? Alright guys. Well, Mikhail is going to be on vacation, so we're going to spend some time together. I'll be with you on Thursday and on Monday. Tuesday, we're not going to have class. Is everyone aware of that? All right. Okay. All right, so we set our schedule. We're going to do lots of work, and let's just a little bit review what you've been doing over the nice weekend that you had. And let's start with the social petals. And what do we have in here? Oh, 64, 36. So we have about 28 people participating. And let me see how. 1, 2, 3, 4, and only 4 people are working on it. So it's an ongoing project, guys. Okay, people who are participating with the iOS devices with the social petals. Sometime maybe next week we're gonna be having a new release. I will let you know. And how you guys doing with the VPN, virtual private network, secure keyboard? Android people, how are you doing? Were you able to figure out how to switch to secure keyboard? Anybody is working on it? Just Ina. It's okay. All right. Looks like only Ina is working on it, no? We'll just get to it. Let me see. Secure keyboard in our main table. Okay, for Android. Let me see. Ooh, okay. So we have a little bit people in here. So I will be updating the bugs. And you guys, did you have a chance to go through the Bugzilla and try to reproduce the bugs that are already in there? So I gave you all the credentials. So the best way to start testing the application, any application, to get familiar with this, is just to go through already filed entries and get familiar with this. So please do. And I just want to check one more thing with the social petals. So let it load a little bit. So there's actually some bugs fixed, right? You do not see. So they're updating it a little bit, but we did not have a formal release. All right, guys, that's good enough. And thank you so much. Team leaders, are you guys here? Anybody? All right. Well, Archie, thank you so much for sending me that list. I will be making changes in Bugzilla for Lomotive. There's plenty of bugs that you guys submitted to change the status. And we are back to our lectures. Well, before we do you guys have any questions? If you do, please write it down. I will go through it after the session, or I'm going to reply sometime during the session. Android Studio, next session we're gonna be probably, if not this one, but next for sure. So what I want you, just in case, you know, we're gonna be doing it today because I don't know how fast we're gonna go. Prepare your Android devices, prepare your cables, and just put it next to your computer, okay? So we'll be it's impossible to log in into Bugzilla. Anybody else is having this problem? What project, Tanya? If you are sometime Bugzilla is having a problem, try to access it from a different browser. So try to access it from the different browser, and this might solve your problem. But I also need to know what project, guys. Is it for Lamotive, or is it for the secure keyboard? Lamotive. Well, it looks like the problem is intermittent, you know, and Archie is giving you probably troubleshooting. Try to log in on the bottom of the page. Also try several times. It's working. Well, I know, guys, some of you are always reporting a couple of people out of the big crowd, but try solutions, all right? So, and let's just go back to our lectures. And yeah, thank you, Archie. And we actually finished the first presentation last time we were here, and now we're just getting into the deeper testing. And let's get familiar what is it on the market. So categories, types, distribution, installation, and logs, and so on is going to be in presentation 2 slides. And let's just talk about the applications. So it's basically, right now, it's a millions of applications signed in into the Google Play and an App Store. But these applications could be divided into these 7 different categories. So there are utilities, entertainment, games, news, productivity, lifestyle, social networking. So each of these application categories are quite different and require a different style of programming from other. And let me explain what types the apps are and what make them so different. And then I'll give you some examples of the applications with that particular type that you have used before, but probably never put your thoughts into it. So first and most, we're going to start with the utilities applications, and they're likely the kinds of applications that are taking up the most room on your screens right now. What they make them so different? They are handy tools that you carry and help you perform simple tasks. So examples are the calculators and the notepads and the communication apps and the weather apps. So the difference between this application and other applications that utility apps are typically used frequently, like for example 4 or 5 times a week, but have a shorter session times. This is because the user does not want to spend time playing around in the app. They come to solve a problem quickly, so they are in and out in a matter of seconds. So the goal for most of the developers of utility apps is how to increase the frequency of use. Then we are switching to the entertaining apps. So, well, they're designed to do what? We pretty much entertain, right? The examples are the Face Jugger, IceFX, Duolingo, Dub Smash, and I want to just kind of give you a little bit insight of the IceFX. Hold on, guys. Somebody is complaining. Could you please show full-size screen? Okay, let me see what I can do. Screen. Well, hold on, guys. All right. This is the best I can do. This is Mikhail's computer, so we'll just have to. Is anybody having big problem with this? Because this is the best I can do on his computer right now. Okay, so because it's the same setting. So, okay, thank you guys. So we're just gonna, do it like this. So anyway, just wanted, how many of you are parents, guys? Probably a lot, right? How many of you have teenagers? Probably a lot, right? So these ice effects, especially, it's kind of, I'm always kind of doubting if it's an entertainment or educational, it should be put this way. So it's basically, it's a drug awareness application that show kids that if they use a meth, right, which calls the slang ice, this is how their body is going to be changing, from the outside. So maybe just give some awareness to the kids and not to use it. So entertainment apps are distinguished from games apps because they're often quite different goals approaching, if you can see. So, but even though both of them seek to entertain the user. So entertainment apps are often educational and seek to gamify an already existing process of activity. Then we have our favorite. Okay, guys, it's a games application. And I think we're pretty much up to date with this slide. So it's games apps have been a favorite among app developers for years. And you can see the most popular, like Angry Birds and Sudoku and Candy Crush Saga and Trivia Crack. And I was telling you, right, about the Candy Crush, how much money this application made. Did I tell you? No? Oh, I did not tell you. Oh, that's my favorite story. Okay. So I can tell you that the candy, well, before I start, who is guilty? Who is guilty of playing Candy Crush Jelly, Candy Crush Soda? Anybody? Only people who play. Only people who play. Okay. So it is a free application, right, by default, but over the rounds that you play, it becomes more difficult and more difficult. So eventually you'll want to buy either life or the shooter or something. So how much money do you guys think this application made in the first 2 years of its existence? How much money you think? 20 million, 2 million, 1 billion? Igor, where did you guess this 1 billion, Igor? How did you guess? 10 million, 10 million, 100 million? 200 mil, 200,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay. So, what do you think? 200 million. Okay. Igor, you said 1 billion. A lot of people playing in the subway every day. Okay, what if I can tell you guys 1 billion pesos? Donnie, are you Spanish? Are you Hispanic? So I can tell you guys, this application made $2 billion in the period of the first 2 years. This is the craziest application ever been made. Yeah, that's why, Igor, that's why I was asking you why you were, so close. So, yes. And this is the biggest application of all time and the most successful one. And the graphic user interface is great, and they can, hire good developers and good gaming designers. So this is kind of, right now, it's like a standard for the gaming industry in this kind of field. Before it was an Angry Bird that also was, swiping the world right now, at that time before the Candy Crush came. But back in the 90s, we had the desktop game. It was called Swipe, and the Swipe at one point filed a lawsuit against the Candy Crush, accusing them of plagiating their design. But of course, at that time, these people are small and they couldn't prove anything. So games applications are still hugely popular for everybody. And by 2016, we also saw the virtual reality and smart TV starts to change, and what game applications should look. Also, we have that game, guys, the Pokemon Go. Okay, now, be honest, who is guilty? Pokemon Go. That's another big thing, right? So, if you need the precision frame, the Catalyst is doing $60. Don't thank me, okay? Then we have the news, and having a news app has become a necessity for media and publishing companies to stay relevant in the digital age of journalism. So the most important feature of a news app are the sharing functions. And this app spread virally through the providing fresh, relevant content to a mass audience. So if you can see, the examples of the news apps are New York Times, BuzzFeed, and a Flipboard. And essentially the goal of any publishing app is to encourage greater content consumption so the publisher can generate more revenue from the advertisers. Native advertising and sponsored content are the main ways these apps make money, guys. Then we have the productivity apps, and they are developed to help us to be, well, more productive, right? Examples are any financial apps, calendars, translators, grocery list makers. Translators are pretty complicated, and if you ever come across the job offering for the translation, localization, this is kind of a very, very tough job that is not paid very well. So what is the crucial part is the seamless user experience for these productivity apps. So, but they help us in everyday life, and we love them. Then we have the lifestyle, and lifestyle apps are where we've seen the biggest uptick in the development. So it comes as no surprise that we want to use these apps to solve everyday problems we have in our life, and pretty much we use these applications to enhance our lifestyle and to make everyday living easier. Well, the examples are fitness, travel, food and drink apps, dating apps. That is becoming like out of control, right? Right now, everybody's having the dating apps. And music apps like, for example, Spotify and Apple Music. So lifestyle apps tend to complement other products and services very well. So they are pretty much exchanging the monetization while they are working together. And of course, one of our favorites, we cannot live without the Facebook, we cannot live without Vkontakte, Odnoklassniki, we cannot live without other things. So, but here in the United States, we use Facebook, Circle, Spot, and Instagram. So social media is so pervasive in our society that we are now seeing apps that wouldn't traditionally be considered as a social network or core part of their product. Like, for example, the Fitbit is a fitness app with the added-in app functionality. So you can follow friends and engage in competitions and with them or against them. So, but whatever the type of app is, as a mobile app developer, they need to understand the purpose of the app to make people's life easier. And if you are in a mobile application testing industry, you are for sure gonna be encountering one of those applications. So you would know what you're testing. Then we have the types, guys. Now we're getting a little bit closer to the technical of the mobile application testing. And let's see, there are 3 types of the mobile applications. They are natives. They're built specifically to the needs of the various operating systems, such as an Apple iOS or Android. We have web applications. These are the websites built using HTML that are designed specifically for smaller screens. And also, it's not as popular anymore, used to be, but not in recent years, is a hybrid applications. So what is hybrid? Is a native application shell with feeds from the website. So in the mobile realm, you often hear terms like native apps, web apps, or hybrid apps. But in the next few slides, we're gonna discuss what is the difference, the major difference between these 3. So let's talk about the native mobile apps. And they are written using the default language for the mobile platform, which is Objective-C or Swift for iOS and Java for Android. Native apps are compiled and execute directly on the device. Using the platform SDK, also Advanced Programming Interface, the app can communicate with the platform to access device data or load data from an external website using HTTP request. Both iOS and Android provide a set of tools to enable developers to leverage the platform features in controlled manner through the predefined Advanced Programming Interface. There are tools, both official and unofficial, which can also aid in the development of native apps. And it is also common for developers to use frameworks in their native app to make development easier. Now we are going to go through the pros and through the cons. And native apps' advantages are the following: that they come with a number of benefits over the other types. The benefits revolve around being tightly integrated with the device platform. They have a native APIs, native advanced programming interfaces, so they can use the native APIs directly in the application, making the tightest connection to the platform. Then we have a performance, and native apps can experience highest levels of performance. And same environment. Native apps are written with native APIs, which is helpful for developers familiar with languages used. Then we have the disadvantages, which we also call cons. And the disadvantages of native apps are generally the level of difficulty in developing and maintaining them. Language requirement, it requires proficiency in the platform language, for example, Java, or Objective-C or Swift, and knowledge how to use platform-specific APIs. They are not cross-platform, so native apps can only be developed for one platform at a time. And high level of effort. Typically, native apps are more work and overhead to build, increasing cost, and native apps may be best suited for developers who have a command of Java and Objective-C, or for the teams with extensive resources and need for the benefit. So then we have the web apps, it's also mobile websites. It's the application that work well on a mobile device but are accessed through the mobile browser. Sometimes they're called web apps. So most simply, they are websites viewed on a mobile device in a mobile browser, with the exception of being designed to fit a mobile device screen size. Then we have web applications advantages and disadvantages. Pros is the maintainability. They are easy to update and maintain without the need to go through an approval process or updating installations on the devices. They require no installation on the mobile devices, and of course they are cross-platform, so any mobile device has a browser allowing your application to be accessible from any device. What are the cons? What are the disadvantages? First and most, there is no native access, and since it is run in the browser, it has no access to the native APIs or the platform, just the APIs provided by the browser. It requires keyboard to load, and the user has to type address in the browser to find or use your mobile website, which is more difficult than just tapping a simple icon. There is a limited user interface, and it's difficult to create touch-friendly application, especially if you have a responsive site that has to work well on the desktops. And one more thing about the web app, that the mobile browsing is declining. So the amount of the users browse the web on a mobile device is declining, while the application usage increasing. Then we have the hybrid app. It's always confusing how to distinguish the hybrid app and how to distinguish the native app, but we'll be talking about that. So what is hybrid app? Hybrid app is a mobile app that contains a web view to run a web application inside of a native app using a native app wrapper that can communicate with the native device platform and the web view. This means web applications can run on a mobile device and have access to the device, such as a camera or GPS features. Hybrid apps are possible because of the tools that have been created that facilitate the communication between the web view and the native platform. So these tools are not part of the official iOS or Android platforms, but are the third-party tools such as Apache Cordova, which is used pretty much right now in my slides. And when a hybrid app is built, it will be compiled, transferring your web application into the native app. This is how it gets used. And of course, advantages, it is cross-platform, so one can build the application once and deploy it to multiple platforms with minimal effort. It requires some skills as the web development, and it allows to build mobile apps using the same skills already used to develop websites and web applications. There is an access to device, and since the web view is wrapped into a native app, your app has access to all of the device features available to native app. And ease of development. They are easy and fast to develop without the need to constantly rebuild to preview. And what are the limitations, the disadvantages? Well, first and most is the web view limitations, because this application can only run as well as the web view instance, which means performance is tied to the quality of the platform's browser. Native VIA plugins, so accesses to the native advanced programming interfaces that you will need may not be currently available and may require additional development to make a plugin to support it. And no native user interface controls. So without a tool like Ionic, developers would have to create all the user interface elements. Now, what do you think? How would you, as a user, distinguish between the native application and hybrid application? By the way, LinkedIn, still a hybrid, okay, application. Flipboard, still a hybrid application. Facebook is the native application. It's been a web application originally, right? Then it became hybrid. Now it is native since 2012. So what are your thoughts, guys, about how can you, as a user, can distinguish between the native application and the hybrid application? Come on, give me your wildest thoughts. No? All right. All right. Well, some people are typing. Crickets. All right. Okay, you guys continue writing, and we will go, and somebody remind me, while I'm done with the summary, okay, to tell you something, okay? All right, here's a little summary for you that between native, mobile, and hybrid, and it's probably good if you guys just print this slide out and for your reference, and because it's all in ones. So let's review it. Native apps are specific to a given mobile platform, iOS or Android, using the development tools and language that their respective platform supports. For example, Xcode and Objective-C with iOS, and also Swift should be there. Eclipse and Java with Android. Native apps look and perform the best. Then we have the mobile web applications. We also call them HTML5 apps. Use standard web technologies, typically HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS. This write once, run everywhere approach to mobile development creates cross-platform mobile applications that work on multiple devices. While developers can create sophisticated apps with HTML5 and JavaScript alone, some vital limitations remain at the time of writing these applications. So it's usually management and secure offline storage and access to native device functionality like camera, calendar, geolocation, which is GPS. And hybrid apps, they make it possible to embed HTML5 apps inside a thin native container, combining the best and the worst elements of native and HTML5. Let's just get the comparison a little bit. So on native applications, in a nutshell, basically native apps provide the best usability, the best features, and the best overall mobile experience. Some of the things you only get with native apps is the multi-touch, so it's a double taps, pinch spread on or other compound UI gestures. Then we have the fast graphics API. The native platform gives you the fastest graphics, which may not be a big deal if you're showing a static screen with only few elements, or a very big deal if you're using a lot of data and require a fast refresh. Then there is a fluid animation related to the fast graphic APIs and the ability to have fluid animation. Then the built-in components, the camera, address book, geolocation, and other. So, and for HTML, which is HTML5 web applications, these apps are device agnostic and can be opened with any modern mobile browser. And because your content is on the web, it's searchable, which can be a huge benefit depending on the application, like, for example, shopping. And then we have the hybrid application, and hybrid development combines, like I said, the best or the worst of both the native and HTML5 words. So we basically here in the industry divide hybrid as a web app primarily built using HTML5 and JavaScript that is then wrapped inside a thin native container that provides access to native platform features. So as a conclusion, I also would like to tell you that the mobile development is a constantly moving target. So every 6 months there's a new mobile operating system with unique features only accessible with the native APIs. So if you can just take a look at this and get this comparison, it might be helpful for you in the future. Okay. Now, distribution, installation, and logs. I want you guys to take your Android devices in your hand right now. Native should be updated, need access to camera storage, no need internet to run. You're absolutely right. So what was it in my slides? Need access to camera storage, no, yeah? Oh, are you comparing the native and the hybrid? Well, let me tell you, guys, that as a user, you would never distinguish between the hybrid and the native. It is impossible, okay? Same, it is same. Performance is the same. Okay, guys, turn on your devices. Android devices. Everybody's ready? Type 1. Type 1. Who is ready? Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. Let's start. Congratulations on your first time putting your hands on the device as a mobile application testers. All right. Now, let me tell you something. In case you didn't know, reasons to enable developers options. Android has an awesome hidden settings menu called developers options that contain a lot of advanced and unique features. If you ever come across this menu before on the later devices, chances that you just dipped in for a minute so you could enable USB debugging and use Android debugging features, and this is less probable. We're going to be connecting our device to Android Studio using the ADB. But there are plenty of other cool things you can do with this menu. It's just the most entries aren't exactly labeled in plain English or Russian or whatever operating system you're using, so they're not very easy to discover. Now, in settings, okay, people with the later devices, in settings, go about your device and see, maybe you already have developers options or developers mode menu already there. How many people able to find the settings, these particular settings? Do you guys have it? Okay. If you guys have it, you do not have to do anything right now. People who do not have type 2, people who do not have developers options, type 2, and good, only 3. Okay, so we do have some people. Now you have to follow this slide, okay? And find the build number. Tap it 7 times. After the third time, you're gonna get a message. You're just 4 steps away from becoming a developer. Now be proud of yourself. Tap 7 times. Were you able to do it? Type 3. People who just enable developers options, type 3. Very good, guys. Now, all together, people who already have the developers options and people who just enabled the developers options, you are equal now. So congratulations. Now, check USB debugging bugs. You have to go back 1 screen, okay? Or if you're in the screen, one of the options is USB debugging. USB debugging. All right? So type 4 when you check the bugs. USB debugging. All right. Everybody's cool. What a nice crowd. Before we continue, I want you guys to go through these developers options. I want you to know exactly what you have in your phone and why it is there. It can help you with operating your phone and also to answer some interview questions, because this is another very common interview question. So let's just go. Menus could be a little bit different, but the names, but you will find it easy. Well, first and most, process stats. It's the first interesting developer option entry we have. That is called process stats. So when you tap on this one, and please just follow the lecture, you know, and just go with whatever I say, and you will see what I'm talking about. So when you tap this one, you'll see an interface that is very similar to Android battery menu, except this one gives you details about your device's RAM memory usage. The bar graph at the top of the screen tells you what percentage of RAM is currently in use, and the app listings beneath it are ordered by how much memory each application is currently using. If you tap the bar graph, you will see the amount of time your RAM usage has been reported as normal or otherwise. And beneath that, you can see the types of processes that have been using your memory. On the other hand, if you tap an app listing from the main process stats menu, you will see details about the app's RAM usage with a button that lets you easily force stop a RAM-hungry app. Press 5 if you were able to follow. Nice. Okay, guys. Then another non-English, name, force RTL layout. What is it, RTL? RTL is a right to left layout. So it is the next cool developer option is mostly just a fun way to experience your phone in a new layout. Through if your system language set to anybody who is having Arabic, Urdu, or Yiddish, please type 6. Arabic, Urdu, Yiddish, Hebrew, type 6. We do not have any people like this, but it's good to know if, 6/ oh, Lily. All right. You guys have, what do you guys have? Zafar, Urdu, Arabic. Nice. All right. So, this is for you guys. You can play around. Toggle the switch next to Force RTL layout, and the orientation of almost all elements on your screen will switch over to right to left layout. Like text formatting will still be defined by your regular system language, so you can still read everything, but the formatting might be a better fit for certain languages. Let me know if you guys can use this option. Okay, next time I see you. Hebrew, Lily. Nice. Tanya, Hebrew. Guys, please play around with your phone, maybe, you'll find it useful. All right, then we have a window and transition animation scale. So this is the next entry in my list. It is actually a set of 2 options that let you adjust the speed of transition animations. Window animation scale affects transitions that occur within the application, like pop-ups. And the transition animation scale deals with the animations that take place when you are switching between apps. A third similar option, like animated duration scale, only affects certain loading animations. So, we'll just skip over that one. So, but if you like to speed up the animations, set these options to value lower than 1x. And you will see, I guarantee you, almost magically, your phone will instantly feel a lot snappier. So if you can do that now, and then just, try, would be good. So on the other hand, if you like to see the animations in a slow motions, set the values to higher number. So if you want it faster, put the lower value. If you want it slower, put the higher. Okay. Then we have the Force GPU rendering. What is GPU? For somebody who is not familiar, is a graphic card. And we'll talk about the CPU, that is the processor. Okay, so Force GPU rendering, it's the next options that might help you if you're experiencing graphical sluggishness in some applications. So, for example, on the earlier versions of Android, the device's dedicated graphics processor to render 2-dimensional objects by default. But some applications, however, haven't been updated to take advantage of this faster method or rendering grabs. So if you have an older Android and any application whose graphics seem to be rendering slower than the rest of your applications, you have to enable the Force GPU rendering option, and I guarantee that will make sure that all applications take advantage of Android hardware acceleration feature, which make the user experience a lot smoother in about 99% cases. Now we have the show CPU usage, which is a processor usage. And it comes handy if you ever wondered what was going on behind the scenes on your Android device. And when we connect our device to the Android Studio, I guarantee, even if you're not going to be doing something, your device is going crazy in the idle mode, even when you're not touching that. So enable the CPU usage toggle, then you'll instantly see an overlay on your screen that shows you all the processes that are currently running. So these entries are ordered by the current CPU load, and your overall processor usage is shown as bar graph at the top of the screen. Then we have another cool option, which is a GPU rendering profile. And if you would like to test your device graphics performance, you should select this option and set it to show on screen as bars. This can be a useful way of comparing the graphic performance for different applications on your system. And also we have the background process limit, and if your process stats menu was looking abysmal earlier, or if your phone just doesn't have much RAM, you might want to look into this last option. So select limit background processes, then you can choose the amount of processes that are allowed to run in the background and eat up memory on your device. Like for instance, you can set this 2 processes at most, and then only the current application and the most recent background processes will be allowed to run, which will free lots and lots of memory of your device. So now what I want you to do, I want you to we have about 10 minutes to connect our devices to the Android Studio. So, but let's just see what is Android Studio is and how it is operating. So, Android Studio is the official integrated development environment, right? And where the mobile applications are being developed. So Android debugging bridge is the big part of it, and anyone who has rooted their Android device has likely used a tool called Android Debugging Bridge, better known as ADB, at some time, at some point during the process. Guys, I know you guys are a very smart group. Anybody in the past, have you been using the devices that are rooted by Android Debugging Bridge? Jeremiah, all right. So you're gonna be my friend. Okay, Daniel, Cyprian, Sanya. All right, so you guys are familiar with the ADBs, right? So if anybody, okay, Daniel, if anybody's having a problem, so you guys are responsible, okay? Be team members. But for others, you probably have never used it, never kind of, encountered it, which is not surprise. Let me just tell you what is the ADB. ADB is a versatile command line tool that allows you to communicate with your device and accomplish a host of different tasks from your computer, such as transferring data, recording the screen output to video file, running powerful shell commands. You can also take the screenshots. So ADBs, as the name suggests, used primarily as the debugging tool for Android developers, and everybody who was installing our Android Studio, you probably, installed it from the Android Software Development Kit, right? So let's just talk a little bit how this tool operates. So the Android Debug Bridge is a command line software interface between an Android device and a host computer. It allows for issuing of shell commands and transfer of files. It can assist in debugging Android-powered devices and to provide means of bypassing graphic user interface to directly communicate with the Android system. So there are three parts of the ADB. The daemon, the ADB daemon called ADBB, runs on Android device. It accesses the Android device and offers services over either a Wi-Fi connection or USB connection. The system property service port configures the port to which daemon listens, and the default is TCP port 5555. So if no value is configured, the daemon allows a connection over USB. So the server part of ADB executable on the host connects to the daemon on the Android device over either Wi-Fi or USB connection, and the client part of the ADB executable on the host connects to the server part of ADB executable on the host. So it basically provides the user services. Logcats. Logcats, one of the first thing the recruiters or the interviewer is going to ask you, how do you collect logs? And this is the tool. Logcat is a command line tool that dumps a log of system messages, including track traces when the device throws an error and messages that you have written from your application with the log class. So basically it is Android monitor where you get all these logs, and it displays the debug messages. Garbage collection occurs, as well as messages that you can add to your app using the log class. It also displays messages in a real time, guys. So, and what we want to do right now, before going any further, grab your cables and try to connect your phone to Android Studio. Connect your phone to Android Studio. Your developer's options should be on. Okay, your developer's options should be on. Okay, your USB debugging bugs should be enabled. Now I want you to open your directory where your ADB.exe is located. It is in Android Studio, Android SDK Windows, Platform Tools, and this is where your ADB.exe is located. Do not forget to enable all hidden files and extensions. Okay, this is your directory. This is your ADB where directory is located. Now, what I want you to do, I need to change your default directory in your monitor on a terminal to the directory where your ADB is located. All you have to do is to tap the field and make this path usable. Okay, again, when you opened your Explorer, you will have a path on the top, which is unusable for right now. But if you tap on it, it will become usable. I want you to copy it. Copy the path where your ADB exe is located. Then open Android Studio and change the directory using CD and paste. Paste the directory that you took from Explore. You change the directory on the top. Okay? You copy it. Right click, copy. You open Android Studio. You have the default directory, and it's not our directory that we want to use. And then we are changing the directory using command CD, change directory, and we paste, right click, paste the directory, and we press enter. This is where we're gonna start working. Okay, people who have changed the directory in your Android Studio, type 1. Okay, you just listen to my instructions. Okay, you have to paste in the monitor terminal of Android Studio. You will have a different directory. You just have to go and change this directory to the directory where our ADB exe is located. Donnie, very nice, thank you. Okay, your next, before we finish today, your next command is gonna be ADB devices. This is where you will see if your device is connected or not. ADB devices, enter. This is where you're gonna receive the list of devices that is being attached. Do not expect your Samsung or something. It's gonna be a serial number of the device. Please try it at home. You need to change the directory to the directory where your ADB exe is located. Your device should be connected via your cable. Your developer's options should be enabled, and your USB debugging bugs enabled. Sometime, guys, you need to play a little bit with the developer's options on and off, okay? And then it's gonna work. But if you're turning the developer's options off, USB debugging bugs is gonna be turned off too. So when you enable developer's options, please enable USB debugging bugs. We're gonna continue on Thursday. Try to connect your devices. Donnie, you have to help people, all right? Okay, guys, thank you so much for being with me. It's the end of session 6. I will see you on Thursday. Good night, everyone.